So, one of the things that often comes up um, with clients, with children, with everybody, um, is it's not fair. And I was talking with someone recently about what do they think that this game is that, or what is this thing that we're doing here, right? And what would be fair? And what this person came to ultimately was everyone having free will is the most fair thing. Because anytime that you say one thing is better than another, even if it's peace and generosity and kindness and unconditional love, that holds in it that you're also saying that something is wrong, like pain and loss and suffering and violence. Um, and since all of those things exist, it's very, yeah, they just came to that the fairest thing is that everything's okay, that it's free will, that you can do whatever. And I have searched and searched. I've got a huge library full of um, books from every spiritual tradition. And what I've been most curious to know is what is the purpose of the darkness? What is the purpose of the violence? What is the purpose of um, these things that most of us spend our whole life running away from, right? Um, in the most recent text that I read is a fictionalized version of the Ramayana. The Ramayana may be fiction as well. But it's basically the story of um, two sort of subsets of the same family who are at war against each other. And there's a lot of like honor and pride and like defending our honor. Um, and they all kill each other, basically. No one gets out feeling better about the situation, and a whole bunch of people that were like just so happened to be living in these kingdoms lost their lives. I think it was like 1 million people or something. And at the end, one of the matriarchs of the whole group is dying and talking with Lord Shiva, who is like a god, and is like, did I do it wrong? Did I mess it up? You know, is it my fault that all these people died? Should I have done something differently? Should I have ended the war? And he's just sort of like, no, it doesn't matter. Like it's fine. All of it's fine. And, Ram Dass's guru always was like, it's perfect. And at the same time, Ram Dass's guru is like, it's totally fine that people are dying of hunger and please feed them. Right? So it's very when you try to get in there, it gets really wacky. Byron Katie, who's a teacher that I love, she'll be the first one to say everything's perfect as it is, but try to make it better. So, this question of is it fair? It's a valid question because whether it's because we were taught to think that pain and loss is uncomfortable or whether pain and loss actually is uncomfortable, I don't know, but we're experiencing distress, right? And so it makes sense to ask that question. But I also am seeing that the question is actually really not helpful. Um, because it opens up it could be different. And that's the piece where I really appreciate radical acceptance and acknowledgement. Because what that holds is it's not different. right? Like I was born into a white supremacist, capitalist, imperialist, heterosexist um, patriarchy. I just was. And I really can't do anything about having been born into that, right? That is the current system um, on this planet. And radical acceptance from a dialectical behavioral perspective is like, okay, this is what's happening right now. And how do I want to interact with that? So this is what we're born into. And do I want to, you know, question how patriarchy is influencing my life and, actively create opportunities for me to have experiences that um, validate my inherent worth as a person who is not inherently worthy, according to the patriarchy, that validates the inherent worth of others, um, that, communicates to my kiddo that there are options, to interact with humans that are not patriarchal, to do that with my friends and my family, to celebrate and enjoy um, moments where I'm, um, not reinforcing that in my own life. Uh, Anywhere from that to, writing books about understanding, I'm not going to write a book on the patriarchy, but, um, uh, it could be if that was something that became very, very important to you and you wanted to be a big part of exploring how we can live without patriarchy. That could be your gift in this life is to explore and offer and share and talk about what that could look like. And so, in that way, that it's not fair can either be neutral or it can be a guiding force, right? So, whatever it is that you think shouldn't be happening, that can lead you to, something that is meaningful for you. So, for me, one of the things that I had absorbed growing up through the religious teachings that I was exposed to was that I was inherently sinful and that I needed to be sorry for that and you know punishing myself for that basically for the rest of my life. And so that instead of like, it's not fair that I was taught that, which I felt for a long time, right? I now have transitioned that into like, oh, that doesn't feel aligned for me. And I'd love to continue to offer myself and the people around me another perspective that we are born inherently innocent, that there's nothing that could be or is or has been or is possible to be wrong about us. And that's what I spend my day in conversation with people around, and what I spend my time learning about and thinking about and writing about and making art about. Um, and so I guess, when we get to these places and it feels like it's not fair, like I'm stuck and like this is wrong and bad and it feels hopeless, um, something that we can bring in is that dialectic of like, it is this way right now. And I'd like to explore something else. I'd like to be open to change so that we can move through what seems like a limitation and create something out of it so that, let's say, oh, the neighbors have a puppy. and he's just like galloping about in the snow. So cute. One of the goats is just like staring at him. Um, yeah, so that we can take something like, for example, a snowy cold day, and we can be like, okay, um, is it my first choice for it to be snowy? For some people, yes. For some people, no, right? If it's not my first choice, it doesn't feel like what I wanted or what I thought was fair to have a sunny, warm day. Um, I could just be mad all day that it's not sunny and warm, or I could get myself a big cozy blanket and cuddle up and, light some candles um, and read myself a story. Or I could, put on a big snow gear and go out and play with the puppy next door. Um, and roll around in it, right? So there's a okay, this is what it is, and it's not my first choice. Now what am I going to do about it, right? So and I've talked about this, I know, before, but it's because it's something that I offer myself so often, since the it's not fair is something that my mind goes to so quickly as well. So I'm in it with you. But switching from the why me to the what now, right? Okay, okay, the planet is not fair. That is correct. It's not a just planet. Fair is a tricky word, I think, but just, it certainly isn't just in terms of like the laws and expectations of like morals and ethics are not upheld. I don't know if those laws are, you know, right, wrong, or otherwise, but they're not, right? The people in charge break the rules. So it's not a just planet. Um, and here I am, apparently on this planet for some period of time, maybe just today, maybe just the next 5 minutes, but so far I'm here. And how do I want to interact with it, right? It's like um, bringing back in choices, so that we don't feel like it's hopeless and giving up and we just are so angry about it, right? Like, it's no one's fault that we live in an unjust planet. It happened over centuries, millennia. Um, it's not, country or uh, ethnicity specific. Every single place in the world has had wars and um, rape and famine and poverty and unjust rulers throughout all of time. And it's apparently a big part of what happens here. And so acknowledging that, it's kind of like if I was to play chess and I was like, well, I don't like it that the pawns can only move forwards. I think that's unjust. The pawns should be able to do whatever they want. It's like, yeah, and this is chess. Do you want to play chess? So that might seem a little harsh, right? But I think it's a little bit like, okay, um, there's some opportunity for this radical acknowledgement. That's like, okay, pawns get to move forward only. I don't really know chess, so I'm sorry if that's not correct. It seems like they can only go forward, or maybe, and then they can kill diagonal. They have limited. They're the least options from what I can remember. So do I want to play chess or not? I could say I don't want to play chess, right? That is always on the table. You don't have to be alive. But if you'd like to be alive and you'd like to have a bit more ease with it, um, acknowledging what's going on with that radical acceptance of this is what it is. Um, can free up energy for the possible change um, in a way that being so upset about it being the way it is just like so draining, so exhausting. And saying it should be different doesn't actually make sense because it isn't different. So it shouldn't be different. It can't be different if it isn't different. We can move forward and create our own new possibilities, right? Um, but what has already occurred. Okay. I love you. And yeah, I'm gonna put Byron Katie's Loving What Is book in the description. I think this is a great one for it shouldn't be. Yeah. Um, and for seeing how much energy that takes up when you're in the it shouldn't be, and how much can be freed up when you let what is be, and then you think about living forward from there with what is meaningful to you. Okay. Love you, love you.